It is now 10 a.m. And so absent objection, I will call this meeting of the first meeting of the External Relations Committee of 2021 to order. The first item on the agenda is I will request a motion to approve the minutes of the November 19, 2020 committee meeting.
Robbie, shouldn't we do roll call?
Oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. It's a new year. I've lost my touch.
Thanks. Roberta Absalom.
Present.
Robbie Ash.
I'm present.
Stacey Blakely. Jim Dewart.
Yes.
William Floyd.
Present.
Roger Farson.
Present.
Brian Glover. Rita Hardage.
Present.
Russell McMurray. John Pond. Catherine Powers. Rita Scott.
Present.
Reginald Snyder. Christopher Tomlinson. Thomas Worthy. Mr. Ash, there are 8 board members present.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. The first item on the agenda is approval of the November 19, 2020 External Relations Committee meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
This is Rita Hardage. I move to approve.
And I'll second it, Jim.
Thank you for the motion properly made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, are there any abstentions? None. Are there any no votes? None. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a briefing about the Writers Advisory Council. Ms. Rhonda Allen. Ms. Allen, please.
Good morning, Mr. Ash and Ms. Scott, Mr. Parker, and other members of the External Relations Committee. Next slide. So the Writers Advisory Council was formed in the spring of last year, just as a reminder. And the body was established so that we could educate our customers about MARTA, receive feedback before we fully implement any major initiatives, receive suggestions and recommendations for service and infrastructure improvements. So today, we'll just discuss a little bit about how this body interacts with us, some of the topics we've addressed with them, the platform that we use for receiving feedback from them, the term limit that they serve, how the council has been viewed thus far, and then how we expect to, what we expect to achieve in the next year. Next slide. So thankfully, there's a high level of commitment that's been displayed among the members. Most of the members attend every meeting. They are on time. They remain for the entire 1.5-hour session of the meeting. And of course, as with anybody, there are some members that are more vocal than others, but it is our goal to encourage more to lend their voices to the discussion. We have great support from the MARTA board. Thank you very much. There are at least 2 members that attend each month. Not the same members, of course, all the time, but we do appreciate the fact that the board regularly lends their time to listen in and participate at the meetings. Other MARTA leadership and staff also actively participate in each meeting. Members of capital programs, technology, facilities, vertical transportation, planning. I'm going to forget some, but I mean, it's just the fact is that we get great support from MARTA staff and MARTA leadership. And the C team, I'm excited to say, really sets a great example as a majority of the C team are present at each meeting as well. The council members often share articles, especially this year, articles that relate to transit and health in the link there with each other between meetings. They volunteered to help chronicle MARTA's history and pulling together a formal library should we decide to do that. They've offered to help fund the MARTA Hope team when they heard about that or raise money to keep that effort going. And they've even offered to assist as transit ambassadors for the work that we'll be doing next month during the TR4 shutdown. So they're active, very active participants in this. And I also like to thank or mention that Lyle Harris and Leisha Kennedy lend great support in each month on the meeting as well. And we'll go into, when we talk about the Q-Markets platform, that's one of the aspects I believe that Lyle has been, very actively engaged in pressing and moving forward. Next slide, please. So we held our first meeting in June of last year, which was basically an introduction of each other and MARTA staff. For every meeting, we generally have half of the meeting, about 45 minutes of each meeting that's led by some member of MARTA staff, that includes a formal presentation. What you see here on the left are samples of some of the presentations that have been given by MARTA staff. And since August, we've had the meetings focused about, again, half on a formal presentation and the other half what we're calling RAC member led conversations. And you'll see on the right-hand side some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that have been shared with us by members of the council. And Lyle leads that part of the meeting. So these conversations have come about out of the Q-Markets platform, which we introduced in August. Next slide. The Q-Markets platform is a tool that we use to kind of help manage innovation and ideas that come out of the RAC. Each member is allowed to enter an idea. It comes in the form of a problem statement or a solution. Other members are allowed to comment in the platform on an idea and vote on an idea if they think that it's a valuable idea. And then MARTA, some member of MARTA staff is assigned to look at the idea or, kind of vet it, and then we eventually issue a response back to the council member and the council in general via the same platform. So the response could come in the form of, what information on what MARTA is already doing in that area, why we can or cannot or will not act on, an idea that's presented. Or thirdly, information on an action that we're going to take or a project that comes out of one of those ideas. So now I'll just take an opportunity, next slide, to kind of go through 3 examples of those ideas that have come out of that platform. The most popular idea to date was actually submitted the first month that we opened the system by Ms. Carol White. She noticed that there was a food processing facility that was outside of a MARTA bus stop with no bus shelter, but she often saw employees sitting on utility boxes or standing in the rain while they wait for the bus, and thought, well, surely it's mostly used by individuals that work at that facility, so why not have MARTA partner with companies or that company to provide a shelter? So what this kind of comes out of what MARTA's already doing, maybe that others don't know about. Well, generally, MARTA's focus when installing a bus shelter or other amenities at a bus stop relies heavily on routes with the highest ridership. But we do have a program that allows businesses and other organizations that would like to contribute or partner with us at a location that does not have a high ridership but may have a need for a shelter to do so. So we are, going to look at ways that we can promote that program more and let others know that that opportunity is available. But just as a side note, the particular instance or place that Ms. White brought to our attention, a shelter has been installed at that location, but the route is currently suspended as part of the essential service plan. Next slide, please. And the idea that has progressed the most comes from Carden Wyckoff. Carden is one of our most prolific users of the platform. She often submits ideas about safety and improving the customer experience for people who have disabilities. I'll just read her description here. Civic Center Station entrances span 2 sides of the street and is a very busy bus terminal as well. Currently, when an elevator is out, as a wheelchair user, I need to cross the street to get to the other elevator entrance. The problem is there's no curb cut to simply cross. The nearest curb cut is over 100 feet, so I have to go all the way down to the light at Ted Turner or Peachtree Street, cross, and then come all the way back. This is about a 3 to 5 minute detour. Additionally, I often see people jaywalking across the road unprotected to catch the bus. So Carden's suggestion was that we work with the City of Atlanta to install a push button or some sort of light-activated crosswalk, very similar to what is outside on 10th Street, outside of the Midtown station. So that idea was championed and has been advanced by Ms. Marsha Anderson-Bomar from Capital Programs. She and her team have met with the City of Atlanta and the Department of Transportation just based on right-of-way and ownership. And both of those entities have, think that this is a good idea and have kind of left it with MARTA to take the lead on implementing such a fix. So MARTA engineers are currently looking at the two designs and the cost of those designs and where they may fit into facilities improvements or capital program here at MARTA. So we'll keep you posted as we continue to advance that idea and as to whether that is something that we can actually accomplish or not. And of course, that also comes with not just simply putting it out there, but we also have to communicate and coordinate with the other entities such as Greta and some of the other bus systems that operate out of that area to make sure that the operation works as we'd like. We don't want to introduce anything else that would be a safety hazard.
And we all now know what a thingy is.
A thingy, yes. Very technical terms we're using. Next slide, please. The most, well, this was as of December, idea that came that's related to technology. So one of the most recent ideas was from someone who noticed that, again, we have two in the Google Play Store, two apps, MARTA on the Go and See Something, Say Something, where MARTA on the Go has many more downloads than the See Something, Say Something app. And his suggestion was in some way to consolidate these apps so that those who have the one app maybe will be more apt to report nuisance behavior than they are now, because not many people actually have that See Something, Say Something app downloaded. And so that suggestion is really under review by the technology team to provide a response on the path forward and what our plans are currently for consolidating MARTA apps. Next slide. So, excuse me, when we initially brought this team on board, or this council aboard, we were thinking of staggering, or the idea was to stagger the terms of the members. But we've since modified that thought after looking and kind of seeing how this council operates. And since they operate in an advisory role only, and they have no governance powers, it makes it easy to have a common turnover period. It allows for consistency in education and the topics that we discuss, and really for the group to gel and act as a cohesive unit. And so we modified their terms so that all the members that came on board in June will remain on a 2-year term, and all will remain through May of 2022. And they are excited. We haven't actually told them that yet, but many of the ones that were going to serve a shorter term even asked us if they could remain on longer. So it just really makes sense for us to do that. Next slide. And so now a little bit more just on how the RAC has been viewed, some of the reactions. Michael Moore is a member who has said that he's had a great experience, and just as we want, he's passing along ideas and the thoughts of his circle of influence. So again, improving and becoming a stronger advocate for MARTA, and that's what we want. Joshua Propp says that he also, as a member, used to find himself frustrated with what he saw was a lack of transparency, clear communication, and progress in advancing public transportation in Atlanta, but has enjoyed the information or the topics that we've shared with them, and also the launch of the Q-Market platform. And it's his hope that MARTA and the staff and the board of directors will fully leverage this team to continue allowing input from those who pay a fare. And we certainly intend to do so. Ms. Hardage, our former board chair, spoke on the council members themselves and said that she was impressed with the group and the type of conversation and presentations that she's heard from them, and believes we're headed in the right direction. So we're glad to hear that. And again, I mentioned that we have a lot of MARTA staff who are active and who attend. George Wright, our Deputy Chief of Rail Operations, kind of has the right mentality here. I think this is how we all feel. we're grateful for the council and the insights that they're sharing with us. And we know, as George says here, that they're going to help us to connect to our lifeblood, our customers. Next slide. So in the coming year, it's our goal to kind of to continue to increase the public's awareness of this council, involve them in more ideation sessions as we look to implement new ideas. Every meeting, of course, has been virtual so far. When it's safe, we'd like to have some in-person meetings, as well as allow them a backstage pass to tour some MARTA facilities. And of course, beginning next month, they'll have a more input, or a very focused input on, as will others in the members of the public, on the design of the new rail car fleet. And they are excited about that. Next slide. But that concludes my presentation, and I'll ready to accept questions now.
This was very informative, Rhonda, and I appreciate the report.
All right, thank you.
To the chair, and I have a question too. This is Roberta.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm curious to know how many of the riders also use the mobility service on the council.
There's one member of the council that is a mobility customer.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I believe, 2 or 3 that have identified themselves as having some form of a physical disability. But there are, those others actually ride the fixed route or rail. But there is one individual who is a certified mobility customer. Okay.
And second question, if I may, my last question. The members you said are going to have served a 2-year term. And I want you to, if you don't mind, explain again how those members are selected or were selected. I know there was an application. What happened after that?
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on I know you're asking a question about the terms and the application.
I apologize. My voice is about gone. Let me try again. So I was saying that we know that you all agreed to the 2-year terms, and I want to understand how the members are selected beyond the applications. I know that you had an application process. From that point, what happens?
So we had a criteria, we had a ranking system based on the strength of the application. And we also looked at in a way, the demographics to make sure that we had a large mix of individuals from the different jurisdictions. We looked at how often they ride, what types of modes they ride. And so we put numbers to some of those things. Those who ride bus and rail, those who ride, I think on the bus side, it was if they rode more than 4 routes, they got maybe 2 points, something like that. So we had a scale by which we kind of, ranked all the applications that came in, and the top 24 is what, were the ones that were selected. When we talked about the term limits, that was actually who would serve the longer term versus the shorter term. That was done on a random selection using a randomizer software. And so now, that kind of went out of the window with everybody having the same turnover period.
Okay, thank you.
Brother Chair, this is Rod Frierson. I have a question. This is Rhonda. The program that you mentioned about partnering with companies to install a bus shelter that may not be in a very high used area, what's the name of it, and who do they contact? Or is that something that we still have in play right now with all these changes?
It is still in play. I don't know that there's a formal name, and I will find out, but it is managed by I think it's managed by the marketing department in concert with planning. But there are specific guidelines for what that shelter or that amenity would look like that comes out of the planning department, so that it still is whatever it is would still kind of look and have that same feel and be in line with the rest of the MARTA system.
Okay.
But
okay. I like to get the contact with who I can at least forward that information too. We have a couple of companies that have said that they're interested in doing something like that. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll share that with Tyrone Huff.
Rhonda, can we put that actually on the agenda for the next External Relations Committee meeting, just to have,
Okay.
just so we all know that, because it's not the most frequent question I get asked, but I do get asked relatively frequently from companies about how they can get, or companies or real estate folks about how they can get a shelter.
Okay, sure.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Ash, I have a question.
Yep.
Just so you know, Rhonda, when you're looking into that, I know that we established that program in North Fulton when they redid the Old Milton Parkway, because there were several different locations that they wanted bus shelters, but they didn't have any money allocated. And several of the organizations and agencies up here came together to fund those bus stops for them. I know, like the Gwinnett Technical Program, they funded their bus stop. So you might want to look back at that too, because I think there was a pretty formal plan for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? If not, I will recognize Mr. Parker, who has an introduction he'd like to make.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Ash. I just wanted to recognize Raj Surnoff, who introduced himself at the beginning of the call. He's literally into about 3 hours in his long career at MARTA. He is, as the board members know, but maybe the general public don't know, he has been hired as our new Chief Financial Officer, has a substantial amount of industry experience, has recently joined us from Santa Clara Valley Transit Authority in San Jose, California. He was the former Deputy General Manager and Chief Financial Officer, has experience at WMATA, as well as Amtrak and some other businesses outside of the public transportation realm. I'm personally excited. I know my fellow MARTA staff members are excited to welcome Raj to the team, and we look forward to your interactions with him in the future. So maybe Raj, I don't know that everyone was on the call yet when you said hello, but maybe you could just introduce yourself briefly and say hello.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning. Raj Srinath, as Jeff mentioned, been here all of about 2.5 hours now. Excited to be part of the team, and nice to meet you all, and looking forward to working with all of you very closely over the course of next few weeks, months, and years. Hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. That's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the External Relations Committee at this time? If not, I will.
Hello, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, Madam Chair.
This is Rita Scott. I was trying to make a comment at the end of the question period. I just wanted to say that I have participated, of course, virtually like everyone else, in each of the Riders Advisory Council meetings, and the information has been phenomenal. The participation by the public from those that ride MARTA, both out of necessity and out of desire. So I want to say that the comments, the information that we've been given, and the ways that we intend to support the public is phenomenal. And I look forward to everything that they have suggested, at least being looked at, and every opportunity to implement whatever suggestions the public has.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and members may vote by clicking on the little red X.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Chair Ash.
Welcome to
Appreciate
the
it.
drive.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.